Okay, third time a charm. I've just found out that for some odd reason my Wi-Fi connection on my computer is faster than my wired connection. So when I was trying to go live before, my upload speed was really bad and it wasn't working properly. And now that I have unplugged the Ethernet cable out of it, it seems to be okay. Let me just check the quality. I mean, yeah, as long as it doesn't buffer too much, looking much better. Okay. So, I kind of wanted to do... Well, I had one main goal this stream. One main goal. It was to look a little bit at the Daggerheart stuff. But for me, it's to fully understand it all. So, 1 second. I restarted my entire computer earlier because I was doing... You know when you just do everything in your power to try and fix something? You can't tell what's wrong, you're just going for it. So... Anyway, yeah, let me just, while I do this, let me just watch Dice Cream Sandwich's little video here.
Daggerheart, Critical Role's latest TTRPG is now released to the public for its open beta. Here are my favorite parts about this system. First up, character creation. This step-by-step system they have you to make your character is one of the most well-thought-out, organized creations I've ever seen. It has been designed in a way that anyone can pick up this character sheet and just make a character, whether you want to put as much work into it or just follow these prompts and create one that...
This is very, very true.
The options for the heritages are amazing. Like,
and
look,
the artwork
we're all playing Ribbits,
is amazing.
Right? Like, come on. Some heritages that differ from D&D are the Fungril, Mushroom People, Katari for foxes.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job of finding... I thought D&D had all the classes covered. Like, all the best ones are in there. But they've got some really cool, original things going on in this.
Did I mention Ribbits?
I'm really impressed by.
Background also helps with character creation, plus the spell cards are very neat. Each character sheet is split into 2 sides. This one is for Wizards, so Codex and Splendor. Sheet tells you to pick one from each category, and you do so. Easy peasy. For those who don't know, the action rolls in this game are made with 2D...
So, this review seems like it's coming from a place of a player.
Succeed or fail
right?
with hope, the players get hope points to help boost their rolls. Succeed or fail with fear, fear points go to the GM, which the GM can use to affect scenes, affect their roles, and so forth. The collaborative storytelling element for Daggerheart is really thought out with these maps they've given. There's 3 maps in the quick start guide, and there's no locations marked on it because
the world building, very cool.
Second here for your players to name the continent. You then go through your players' backstories and go here with like markers and circle where your characters came from and name them yourselves. Even in the quick start one-shot, it starts to describe what the GM should tell the players, and at one point they ask the players to describe their environment.
It's very collaborative.
Look like, and ask the GM to
very collaborative.
Into the story. They even take that concept a bit further, asking players to help the GM come up with what the NPCs kind of look like, what their clothes look like, everything to help make the environment a collaborative experience of description. Now, there might be some GMs out there that have been doing this already in their games, but the fact that the game really does push on that aspect for new players is so cool. Have you seen the open beta test yet? Have you played it? What?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that, but once again, it's kind of system agnostic. Like, a lot of that stuff is... I mean, it can be pushed by Daggerheart as a way to play, and it can be within the very spirit of the game, but it's not... Like, you've got to play Daggerheart to get those experiences. You can do it in any system. I've seen a lot of, like, people not criticizing the game. I've seen way more praise for the game. Way more praise. But it all feels like it is player focused, which might be fair, but I've not seen a lot of talk about the actual mechanics for the game master themselves, which is interesting. So in this stream, I've got a plan. All right, and it's to look at the mechanics of Daggerheart. Like, to really get into the innards of it, right? And I'm going to do that by looking at the actual play from Critical Role that I did last night, which I watched most of it, but I've kind of skipped through other parts. I personally specifically want to fully understand combat. Like, it's a pretty complex, and it's probably the thing that is going to be the hardest to wrap your head around, especially for players. I want to be able to look at the character sheet, and like and explain just every part of it in detail. I want to understand all of it. And then I want to create this pros and cons list. Now, here it is. It's down here. I've made a bunch of like, so we can talk about like evasion and armor, and talk about HP and stress and hope and fear. And I've made a bunch of like little keywords that we can like take a quick look at and see how they work, and we can decide whether, you know, well, I'll decide whether I like it or not, and you can decide whether you like it or not, and we can see where it kind of falls, like what can be improved upon, and what's weird, and like why is it there. So let me grab a character sheet up real quick. So I think there's one in the playtest manuscript. Here's one. All right, so we can kind of go through the character sheet first to kind of because it's going to help us like look at the pros and cons list fundamentally. And if we look at first off, like the evasion and armor stuff, is great. Honestly, I'm a big fan. Fundamentally, evasion is your AC. It's how good you are at dodging. So when the GM is going to try and hit you with a creature, they have to roll to beat your evasion score. So the higher the score, the harder you are to hit. Your armor is fundamentally how much of that, like if they do hit you, how much of that damage can you deflect or negate? And the armor is like, it's weird, but I really quite like it. These 3 boxes next to the armor class here are like, I guess, armor points. I don't know the correct term for them, but that's how many times you can use your armor. So if someone rolls to hit and gets over a 9 to hit you, then they roll damage, and let's say they do 20 damage. Then if you want, you can just take the 20 damage, or you can negate it with one of these armor slots. And every armor slot, you can minus the number in your armor off it. So if you get hit with 20 damage, and you want to use one armor slot, you can lower that to 15. But you can use all 3 slots. This guy's got 3 slots here to negate that all the way to 5. And what that does, it sounds so... I can see the memes. It does sound complex because now you've got your hit points here. 5 damage is between 3 and 8, so you'll take minor damage and mark 1 hit point on here. So if they'd done 8 to 13, you would have taken 2 hit points, or over 13, you would have taken 3 hit points. I can see the memes right now being something like, oh yeah, it's just a game where the GM rolls to hit you, so you've got to check your evasion score, which is 9, and if they get it over, you can check your armor score, which is 5, and use one of your 3 armor slots to minus the damage with your armor score to lower it from minor, major, or severe, so that you only take 1 HP instead of 3 HP. But if you take less than 3 HP, then you take 1 stress, unless you, I don't know, use some hope die. Like, there's a lot of resources going on, right? Which is a lot to get your head around, I think. But just as far as like narrowing it down to, if you're in combat and your GM rolls to hit you and hits, you have an option. It's fundamentally shield from D&D. You have an option to neglect, I guess, reflect? No. Just take away some of that damage. So, 1 second. Yeah, honestly, it's a fun kind of, you can just do more. You're not just getting hit, it's giving you options. So because of that, for me personally, evasion and armor is a big pro. I prefer it to, let's face it, D&D, where you just roll to hit and you get hit. And if you want to do anything about that, you've got to jump into bonus actions and reactions and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah. HP and stress. Now that is another interesting thing. So the minor, major, severe damage that you can take, I thought I didn't like, but now that I've thought about it more, I do like it. And it, as a GM, it takes the onus off you to you're not going to accidentally crit and one-shot a player anymore. That's impossible, because the most you can do is 3 hit points. So you're not going to accidentally do insane amount of damage and just destroy a player. You could do like 2 in a row and do the full 6 hit points on this person and destroy them, but it gives you that kind of like comfort blanket. It also means that players can roll really, really high, and the only maths you're going to be doing is whether you take 1, 2, or 3 HP. Now, stress is interesting as well. It's just an added extra. It's like your mental health. It's mental HP, really. If you take less than 1 HP from damage, so if you get like below your minor threshold, you take 1 stress. And you can also take stress from fundamentally anything. There's a lot of onus on the GM to kind of decide this. If you are struggling with something, or you roll really badly, or whatever happens narratively that might make your player stressed out, or mentally unhappy, they take a stress. And when they are full stress, when they have like all these filled out, then any new stress they take becomes a HP hit. So they'll lose 1 HP. So it's just an added thing where you're kind of losing health by when not in combat and not taking damage. So you can be in social situations and lose health in like conversation if it's going really, really badly, or if you are just completely exhausted. It does add to, I guess, a funny situation where maybe there is something in here that I've missed that stops this, but like, I guess you can go down in conversation. You can like fall unconscious simply by haggling and bartering at a shop to get money off. But still, it's a nice addition, I think, and it is that extra kind of resource for players to play with, to shake things up. So for me, again, it's a pro. And then Hope and Fear, interesting to me. This is very odd, because this is borderline too many resources now. And in fact, There is one in here that's just called like resources, tokens, cards. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. Fundamentally, when you roll 2 dice, you to do anything, if you get here, hold on. So look here. So I roll. This is what I would do if I had to do any checks. So I got a 12 and a 6. Now the yellow is my hope dice, and the blue is my fear dice. And now we're dealing with, let's say if we change these round. So this I would get 1 hope, which I can then use for abilities and other things in the future. But if I change these round, and I got like an 11 on this one, and a 4 on this one, then I would take 1 fear, which would mean the DM would get a chance to do something awful, fundamentally. Now, there's so much stuff a GM can do with this. As you play the game, the players are going to establish, like, get more and more hope. Hold on, what do that card sheet? They're going to collect hope non-stop. And the DM is going to collect fear points non-stop. Hey, well, how's it going? Yeah, I was struggling earlier, big time, with my connection, but it seems okay now. I'm just going through this character sheet and looking over all of the mechanics of Daggerheart, and we're filling out a little pros and cons list. See what we like and what we don't like. And I think in general, the hope and fear dice is... Oh, you can't even see the full thing. So the hope and fear dice, I like it. It's fun to roll 2 dice. I like that there's negative consequences to stuff. It's kind of a weird one where it's kind of sitting in between though, because I think it adds a lot of complexity that's unnecessary. Hey Ben, what's going on, buddy? So I'm going to leave it in the pro, but part of the issue with hope and fear is that there's way too many resources, I think. I think this is a con. I think in general, looking at a character sheet, you got just too many like resources as far as like a GM's keeping track of how much fear they have, how many counters they have in combat, and we're gonna get into combat in a big way soon. How much hope someone has, how much stress they've taken, how much HP is left. It's a con for me, that. The tokens are... the cards and the tokens are kind of like... I like the idea of turning the TTRPG more like closer to a board game in a way. Or like a card game even. It feels nice. So I'm going to put the cards in the pro. But... going with the resources, tokens. Nah, too much. So, experience, I like. Experience is fundamentally customizable feats that the players create themselves. So, that gives them bonuses to rolls. And we'll take a look at the actual play and some of the key bits in a bit. But apart from there being a lot on the GM to figure out what is allowed and what's not allowed, and maybe arguments happening between the players and the GM about that, like Daggerheart only works if you have a table that like really gel together and really trust each other. I genuinely believe that. I think there's so many times when weird things can happen and arguments can happen or confusion can come about in this game where if you don't trust your GM explicitly and the GM doesn't trust the players explicitly, things will fall apart. But for the most part, experience is great. Physical versus magical, which is in D&D, there's so many different damage types where some monsters may be resistant to certain damages and opposite for others. This is just physical and magical. It slims it down, and I'm a big fan of that. The inventory stuff we're going to leave to the end because I need to look more into that. I think there's a few of these, like combat order. I want to talk about that. I was up pretty late last night trying to wrap my head around how combat works in this game. And anybody who says it's simple is completely they're very intelligent. And if they think everyone is as intelligent as them, then they're also delusional. We can check world building. Once we look at the actual play stuff, we'll probably see this as well. World building is a huge pro in this. The way they kind of want players and GMs to do it, which is incredibly collaborative. It's like you decide when you create your character where your character's from, like the player does, and then they mark it on a map and they name the place and maybe give a little bit of backstory about the place so that the GM's not creating the world, like the players are creating it to an extent, which is really nice. The language we'll leave till near the end. The collaboration in general, once again, great. Yeah, there's times in the playtest material where it, like the little adventure it gives, where it literally says, ask your players, like, what do these enemies wear? What are they like? What is around them? So it's incredibly trying to give some of that game master power to the players in a good way. GM agency will leave till near the end. Gold. Big fan of gold. The way it's handled in this, they've simplified it to the extent where you have handfuls, bags, chests, hoards, and a fortune of these little squares here, and you mark them off as you get some. And the way this works is when you get one handful of gold, you mark one here. When you get two, you get 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you get your next 6th one, this turns into one bag. So you just have a bag of gold, and then you build up handfuls again, so you have another bag, and another bag, and another bag, and when you fill up all your bags, you get one chest. And when you fill up all your chests, you get one hoard. And when you have 2 hoards, fundamentally, you'll have a fortune, and you can just keep building it up like that. And the interesting thing about this is there's a maximum, it feels like, of how much gold you can actually have. And it's 1 fortune, 2 hoards, 3 chests, 4 bags, and 5 handfuls. And a player cannot get any more gold than that. Complaints about Daggerheart are coming from people who are only accustomed to the rules-heavy approach of D&D. The comments about how initiative is handled being a non-functional game, for example. I have some... We might disagree on... Or we might agree, because I do come from D&D, which is a very rules-heavy approach. The combat in this is... Until I play it, I won't know for sure. It is very different. And just my experience at my table, that having people all get a chance in the spotlight and all that stuff, it's going to be difficult. The gold system is fixing a problem that didn't exist. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like gold in D&D, to be honest. I didn't like the multiple currencies. Like, you had gold, electrum, platinum, silver, copper. I didn't like that. You had to, on the fly, if you only had 1 platinum piece or an electrum piece and something cost 5 copper, what do you do? This feels like it has fixed that problem. It has simplified it. But that's coming from me as a DM. I want more simple. which is why when the combat situation for me, it feels like it should be more simple because it's technically rules light in a way. It's like there's no initiative order that you have to follow. There's no set things that have to always happen. But by it being rules light, it's like way more complex in a way. So that's my issue with combat. But I like the goal situation. The language of the play. So this is unfair, really. I'm not even sure if I want to put this on here, but the language, because it is just a beta. But right now, the language in this playthrough is confusing. It's a big con. It says even in the quick play, on the quick play sheet, it says when you roll your 2 hope and fear dice, if you get a hope, if hope is highest, you get 1 hope. And if fear is highest, the DM gets a fear. And that's how they played it in the actual play. But in the main beef of the actual playtest book, it says, it doesn't say you get a fear or a hope, it just says you get a hope on a critical hit. So I don't know if that's like a typo or if the information's just been moved around so it's not right next to it. But when I first read that initial playtest thing, I thought you didn't get hope from when you rolled a hope die. So making it very confusing to me when I saw Matt Mercer handing out hope every time someone rolled highest on a hope die. So the language could do with some work. The character sheet in general is great. I'm not even going to spend much time on that. Like, you just need to look at it, and it's very clean. It's very nice. I prefer it to D&D. Going back to for the currency, you don't use the metal denominations when you run D&D. You just use gold, but you don't see why it isn't just the default. Daggerheart's money system isn't a good one in your opinion. Again, I loved it. Yeah, everyone is different, right? And I don't want to be like the kumbaya, let's all get along thing. Some DMs really like that level of accuracy. So handing out bags of gold doesn't feel great, especially when a tiny, like an apple is probably worth a bag of gold, and a wooden chair is also worth a bag of gold. Like the lower, like how can you split a bag of gold up? So you're just paying bags of gold for everything. I guess maybe that's where like a bartering system comes into place. It's like, I've got 1 bag of gold, so can I get that, and that for it? But you do lose that accuracy, for sure. The art, no doubt, great. I love it. I love the art of all the cards. Hold on. Oh, come on. My OCD is making me all fit in here. Yep, art. I can't. I love it. I love the art. I can't wait to see a lot more of it. Yeah, bag of gold is just too vague. Yeah, it's weird. Like some tables will like it, some tables won't. It goes back to like some tables love counting how many arrows the archer has shot and how many they have left, and other tables are like, they're an archer, they have arrows, and like both are fine. Both are great ways to play the game, but it's just preference. GM agency. I think when I put this here to choose, I was gonna put it in the pro originally, because the GM has a lot of power to do a lot of stuff. The stress, giving out stress is one of the key examples of this. It's kind of like, at any point, a player can be like, I'm gonna try and do this thing, and the DM, if it goes wrong, or if it's a lot on the player, on the player's character mentally, the DM can just be like, you take a point of stress. And the ability to build up that kind of like, I guess, suspenseful environment of like giving out lots of stress sometimes and not at other times. I don't know, there's a lot there's a lot of GM can do. In combat as well, they can fundamentally go whenever they want, as long as they have fear tokens, or after anyone else throws a fear dice that's higher. I think the GM has way more power in this than D&D, for sure. But it is resource managed. Like, you can kind of see, like, they need fear to do things. So the players need to roll badly, and then the GM can do a lot of stuff. But if the players roll really well, the GM can't do as much stuff. And that's why I actually think it's a con, because the game's never going to be consistent. And I don't just mean like how the players roll and change what the GM can do at any given point, but also if I'm GMing a table, I really want to treat everyone equally. And to me, I'm doing that, but actually to the players, they see that they took a stress for doing something, and someone else did something similar to them and didn't take a stress because I just didn't think about it at that time. That looks like there could be conflicts there. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it just feels like I'm the GM, these are my rules, I'm just doing it this way, rather than like, look, this is what the rules say happens when this happens. So once again, it's the rules light thing, which is something that I say I wanted, and I guess I'm getting that now. And I think being a GM of Daggerheart is much harder than being a DM in D&D. I think there's just a lot more going on, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to actually GM a game and see. But yeah, so GM agency is a con for me. Inventory stuff, that's the only thing in this list that I've not looked properly into. So we'll do that if there's time. Actual play, I'm going to say this now. I think the actual play side of things, and as a game, people probably don't care about this as much, but I think it's a big part of certainly this game. If Critical Role are going to start playing it, I don't think it's as fun to watch. I might get freaking cancelled for this. I don't think Daggerheart is as fun to watch as D&D. Now, that's probably just because I don't know it as well, right? I don't know what's going on. And that's fair. And maybe as I get to know the game better, this might shift into the pro side of things. But also, combat, I didn't like watching that on Daggerheart. I didn't like not knowing kind of who was going next. I didn't like not knowing that everyone kind of is going to get a go and get a chance to shine. I liked that people were teaming up and doing like combos. Don't get me wrong, I really liked that. But overall, I think structure is really useful in actual plays, and I think Daggerheart to an extent gives up a lot of that structure for flow and pacing, like the river runs faster kind of thing, but you're in for a rockier ride is what it feels like. Hello from Texas. Hello Ryan. Hello from Toronto. How's it going? Combat order is the big one. I think it's the one that's going to be the most contentious. It's coming from someone who's not played, so take that as you will. But I was racking my brain last night to figure out exactly how combat works, because I couldn't. Big thing about D&D combat is how to speed up, but I feel having no structure in Daggerheart will only slow it down. I agree. Once again, this depends on the tables. If you have a table of experienced players who are willing to step back and let other people have the spotlight, and who are very constantly aware that some people haven't been yet, or that they might be hogging the spotlight, but also equally a table of people who take the initiative, and if there is a silence or if there is a gap, they'll just go. I think that's quite rare. And I think what's going to happen with most tables is And just so this is clear, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I understand combat, right? You go into combat, like you just say, hey, we're in combat now. You might get a battle mat out, for example, and you kind of go, as a GM, you're like, okay, who goes first? And you just, all the players, probably on most tables, will be like, oh, I want to go first. And then the GM has to be like, well, just one of you needs to go first. Or more likely, like 2 or 3 people at a table are like the go-getters, the initiative takers. They'll all want to go first. And I guess among themselves, or the GM will have to step in and say, you go first. Then that person goes, and let's say best case scenario, they roll well, get a hope dice as the highest. Then whoever wants to go next can go next. Then whoever wants to go next can go next. And you kind of just go with the flow. But the person who went first could go again before everyone else has finished. And someone could go like 3 or 4 times before everyone at the table has been and gone. And you might have shyer people or quieter people, or just slower thinkers, like not taking their go yet because they kind of assess the situation. I think those are the people who are really going to suffer, because it's the people who like the 5-minute rounds in D&D, because like Emily Axford, for example, not to put words in her mouth or anything, but I feel like she thrives having time to think about exactly how she's going to play and exactly what she's going to do. And she doesn't like things changing that much. It probably really annoys her. I know it annoys a couple of players where they've got this big plan and then something happens and it changes everything. But then they do these spectacular things because they've had the time. They're like playing chess while everyone else is playing D&D. Those people are going to feel pressure just to go, because if they don't go, they don't get to go, right? So it's like, I understand why they've done it. I just think, and in fact, in the actual play, Matt even says, like, if you want to just go around the table, you can. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like, okay, person to my left goes first, then the next person, and the next person. And if someone doesn't want to go, they skip their go. I think that will speed up combat immeasurably, and I think that's the perfect balance between both worlds. But then the GM can fundamentally go whenever they want. They've normally got fear tokens, which they've collected every time a player rolls the fear dice higher, and they can trade 2 fear tokens to just go, right? They can just attack in between like other people's turns. And then also, whenever someone else rolls a fear dice, during the combat, the GM gets to go after it. And this to me just screams incredibly punishing games. Like, if the entire table rolls really badly, which happens sometimes, the difficulty level leaps up exponentially because the DM gets to go after every person's go. It seems like to me. Like, that's how I read it. I could be wrong there, but the GM can just go. And I think the idea is that the GM is, in this game, so story first that they wouldn't go after every single round. Like, they would be like, okay, everyone gets a go. What is going to feel best for everyone? What's going to tell the best story? And that is like, I'm just going to let people kill my monsters eventually and get some big hits in. But the reality as a DM, sometimes we want to be able to do everything in our power to kill the players, you know? Maybe that's just me, but it's nice to be able to, like, we balance the fight so that we're probably not going to kill the players, right? And then we try our hardest to kill the players. I find a lot of fun in that. I get to experience combat in a similar way to the players do. So it feels like we're losing that. It feels like we're losing a lot of GM as player, and now GM is becoming more just like more of a god and director and storyteller, I guess. Hold on, let me just read these chats. Ben Powell, I think they could do it so that all the PCs get to go on their turn and it switches back to the GM. PCs could go at any order, though, team up. Yeah, I think that's great. I think having that set thing of like the GM will only go after everyone's been or skips their go and they can kind of go in any order they want is better. Yeah, I think I will save this and I will run it and I'll do it again because things will probably shift around a fair bit. You can think of a few around the CR table who are going to be rather insufferable at the start of combat if they continue to play with Daggerheart a lot. Yeah, it's that, right? You have people at the table who don't think enough, and that's fine, but will hog the combat spotlight. And you have people who think too much, and they're going to get in their own way and not have as much fun with the combat. So yeah. Hold on. Also, guys, if you're in chat right now, can you do me a favor and can you like the YouTube video? That would be amazing if you haven't already. Another thing is cinematic moments. Let's say a father, DM, and son player fight. I fear players will keep on letting the son go so he can get the last hit, and it will get old really quickly. I mean, yeah, it also feels like it is too controlled by the players. Like, you can control the outcome a lot more. Like, if you want a certain person to get the finishing blow, you will make that happen. Some tables might like that. I kind of do. I like the poetic justice that can happen, but it feels way better when it happens due to random chance than it does just like pure willpower. If they have fear tokens, that means players have already gone though, right? Well, they can have fear tokens from before the combat starts. So, and fear tokens continue between games. So if you want to be a GM who barely ever does combat and barely makes anything bad happen, you can go like 5, 6, 7 sessions in a row and just have like 70 fear tokens. And then you can just turn one session into a session from hell. It's how I've read it. Thank you. GM could gain fear tokens from roleplay skill checks too. Yep. So, yeah, they have fear tokens, and then they get a fear token every time a player rolls in combat. So, like I said, if the players keep rolling badly, the GM can just keep going and going and going. Yeah, they can save them from previous combat. I think the only caveat to that is that it's not fear tokens. You exchange the fear tokens for combat tokens, and one fear token is worth 2 combat tokens, or the other way around, which is once again why resources is in my con list, because it's just combat tokens, fear tokens, hope tokens, armor slots. Like, there's a lot. Yeah, the whole system seems like the GM really needs to trust their PCs in the game. Needs to try it out though. Yes, yeah. I don't mean for this to sound like I'm bashing the game. I'm not. I mean, just look at how many things are in my pro side, right? I like the game, and I can't wait to play it. But and a lot of this stuff is just like the language in there is an actual play. They don't really mean anything. That will change, and yeah, it is what it is. But definitely for me, also combat is in the combat, but I can still play Daggerheart and just change up the combat slightly. I just want a little bit more order, right? I don't want to change the game in a big way. I bet when it comes out, there will be like an optional an alternative way to play combat, which is just go around the table, and suddenly combat is over here, and like it's amazing, great. And I wouldn't be surprised if they keep playing this they'll start doing that for the actual play stuff, because it is nice in actual plays to kind of see that structure and know what's going on a bit better than just like boom, boom, boom. I saw a Reddit post of someone who did like the alpha test, I guess. They play tested like the last version of this, and they were, without breaking their NDA, they were just talking about it. And one of the comments really stuck with me, which is they got told how to play, they got the rundown on how to play the game, their first session. They played it, and in combat, they were just like, they didn't know when the GM took their go. The GM was just kind of going whenever they wanted to, and they didn't like that. Now, that comes from them, yes, being very used to like more like rule structured, ordered games. So it's just kind of out of their like wheelhouse and knowledge house. But it shows that kind of, it is kind of hard to describe, like explain that to new players. And it's probably incredibly frustrating when a GM just wants to go off, you know, and just start hammering people. And then other louder people are like, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. Oh, yeah. Not using initiative could help. When someone wants to help make another person's idea move, my friend wants to charge a big bad, I can act as they do to buff them. Yes. And you know what? That level of combat order is one thing, but combat freedom that is a pro. That's a huge pro. I did this in my, I literally been playing the new Final Fantasy game, and they do a thing in that where it's called synergy, where you can team up with someone else in your team and do a cool combo. And I started putting that in my home game of D&D, where if two people are next to each other in initiative, so already this is better for this because you don't need the initiative, but if two people are next to each other in initiative, then they can combo together, they can like talk, let's do this, and fundamentally they will still attack as normal, but it might be that the monk leaps off the sword of the Goliath and flies at the guy as the Goliath swings, so they both just hit normal, but because they did a cool combo roleplay moment, I give them both like inspiration for that point. And honestly, it led to some really cool combos. So that side of it, I'm all for. All for it. Alright, so I have a few things that I want to look at quickly. Just to help, this is as much to, like, I'm not explaining the game, right? I'm also not reviewing the game. It sounds like I am. I feel like that's the temptation to do that. I don't understand the game. I don't understand it. Like, my biggest review right now is that I wish like everything was simpler, but I guess when you're designing a game this big, like D&D is not simple. I wouldn't learn and know how to play D&D in 2 days. I barely do now, and I've been playing it for years. So, this is kind of an exercise in learning how to play properly. And I have the actual play stuff here. I've got some timestamps. You guys watch this, by the way? Did you watch the actual play? Like, what do you guys think? Outside of Daggerheart, outside of like the combat and stuff, but just the overall, you know, live show, was it a good one? Let me shut off. So this I've got marked down as the very first roll happened at the 59-minute mark, but they were doing other stuff. But yeah.
You go ahead and climb up the side of it. Are you going all the way to the top?
Yes, I am.
All right. You know what? Well,
Let's do
take
it.
off. Let's
First
do it.
roll
Let's
of
do
the
the first roll
system.
there. All right.
Don't drop the dogs.
But because I'm a simi, I have advantage on agility rolls on both bouncing and climbing.
Indeed.
And I think this probably involves my experience. Look, ma, no hands.
So you're just using
Just doing a
feet and tail, just whipping through the branches? Sure. All right. So spend a hope to add your experience.
So this is, again, the resource thing. A lot of the bonuses and stuff people are adding feels very TTRPG-esque. Like they don't seem insanely different. They work, and they've always worked, and they should stay in there. The experiences stuff, I forgot when I was doing the pros and cons. Not only do I like that it's kind of like a feat that the player just makes up themselves and it builds character, but I also like that you spend a hope to like activate it, and it'll give you a +2 for this roll if you can like narratively make it make sense. I think once again the GM player conflict might kick up when a player chooses like a certain feat experience that they've worded in a way where they're trying to get the most out of it, you know? Like, social butterfly is my experience. So I get a +2 to every single social encounter, right? No. Then the GM has to be like, no, you can't. It can give you very small specific things to certain things, and then you've got to really like get down to what that actually means. Otherwise, an argument's going to break out every time the player wants to use it. And then it's like another player is, but I took this other feat where I did really niche down, and you never let me use that. And it's like, well, not all experiences are created equally. And the player's like, I didn't realize I was choosing something that was really integral to my character because they're amazing mountain climbers, but there's no mountains around. So this feels like I've been cheated out of something. It's weird, but I guess that's the same as just taking feats in D&D.
Oh, that's right. You have to use hope.
14, that's fine.
Then add the D6.
Don't worry, Squire. Oh, and also, I should say, spoilers, because we're watching it. I'm going to skip through. I've got a bunch of like little rolls and moments that I want to watch and just see how they handle stuff. So
Kick off these mechanics.
Yeah.
let me know if this is too quiet or too loud or whatever.
Yeah, I'll get there. That's and then it goes like that. That's a roll of a 14 with hope plus
14 with hope.
2 for my experience is 16 plus the advantage from.
It's a lot of adding.
20.
20. Fantastic. With hope. So you take a hope back.
A lot of adding stuff. So he rolled with hope, so he got a hope
Zarlo just, like,
token.
leaps up and
Like,
depths.
I want to put stuff at the end of that. It's like, it's a hope token, it's a hope bead. I can imagine playing with little. Remember when Pokemon cards? For anyone who collected Pokemon cards and also played the Pokemon game, like the trading card game, which is rare because most people just collected the cards. But you had those little elemental beads or gems or whatever they were, where you could do certain water moves if you had 3 of them or whatever it was. That's what I picture for like hope and fear. I think I'd want to play with those if I could get my hands on some tokens like that. The ambiguity between how specific and how broad you need to make an experience is something you're not a fan of. Yeah, I think when I handle experience, this may go down. Like someone might watch this and be like, "This guy's a terrible Daggerheart GM." I feel like I would really want to get down and have like a contract for each experience to know exactly what they intend to use it for and set real parameters around it, to say that this is what it's used for. And then just like D&D, in specific moments, the player can kind of push their luck and see if they could use it. And I might be like, yeah, that's cool. That works for this moment. But I don't want to ever live in a world where they're just like, I'm going to use this every time I hit someone because my character's good at arm wrestles, you know? But yeah.
Like a master trapeze artist begins to ascend through multiple sides of this tree, vanishing into the canopy above.
All right. So that was the first roll. It's fine. It seemed like Liam was adding a lot of stuff up. And also, they said they had done a few playtests of this beforehand. I don't know how much experience they have in it, but if this is their very first time, it's forgivable. It's forgivable. But if this is like their 5th time playing, you would hope it would need work if if it was like this every roll. It seems it's actually combat may be faster, but like just rolling out in the world is slower because the players are like, what can I add to this? How can I add to this? What else can I do? So, like sneaky little mushroom.
You experience this?
That's okay. I'm still gonna spend a hope.
Change it back.
No, I'm gonna spend a hope because I have an experience called sneaky little mushroom. Sneaky little mushroom. So I'm gonna use that experience to look around and find the deepest shadow around me.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah, if you want
Okay.
to. What are you attempting to do?
I'm attempting to find the deepest shadow, and I'm gonna step against the tree, and I'm gonna fade into the tree
Okay.
and bamf back out.
So this is in here because I find this really interesting. The way they're playing it, which is different, is rather than just in D&D saying like, there's dark shadows around, right? I'm going to choose the darkest shadow and use that for this cool ability I have. But in this, it's like, I'm going to use hope to use this experience and within that try and find the darkest shadow, and then it's going to be a roll. And often in D&D it could lead to like a perception check, but a lot of the times it's just like, yeah, you see the darkest shadow, of course you can see it, it's right there. So I find it interesting.
Shadow farther away.
They're rolling
Right. So,
to do basic stuff almost.
okay. Go ahead and roll a. Let's go and make this an agility check for me
Agility.
to go ahead and see how quickly you could like vanish into the shadow without the owls following what you're attempting to do.
Okay. 17 with hope.
Whoa!
Alright, so take a hope.
No fear at this table.
And you said that.
All right, so you go ahead.
But yeah, and then the other added thing, it was just interesting to hear, do an agility check to see if you can stealth, fundamentally, how well you can stealth, which was fun. Can't quite remember which one this one is.
And I'm gonna cast Enrapture to keep whatever.
Oh yes, this was an example of a success with fear and then negative things happening.
On me. And
Okay.
it drowns out any sound except for me and my voice.
Okay, so make a spellcast roll towards the target. You see the shadow shifting in the nearby wood as it's kind of lumbering in your direction slowly. Go ahead and roll for that.
Does this affect targets or everyone around you? Because I'm 100% watching you do this.
just the target.
I don't think you need the song for this.
I will spend a hope to use the show must go on,
Okay.
which is one of my experiences, and I'm gonna add my presence. Okay, Okay. Let me see if this works. So this
And then this,
my little candies.
I believe, leads into the first combat.
Okay. I'm so nervous. Okay, that's good.
this up.
11, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 with fear.
Okay, 22 with fear. Thank you.
So you see, she rolled with fear. Matt took one of his little fear tokens
You are
there.
Giving this fantastic performance here in the center of the shadow.
So you can see that he's got a little collection. He's got a fair few there now.
The rest of you watch, emerging out of the nearby brush, a hulking furred mass, a quadrupedal entity. You first catch it. It looks to be a hedge bear, which are like these massive, kind of natural denizens of the wood. But this one seems to walk with a slight limp on one side, and as it comes in the faint bit of light, you can see its thick fur looks matted and shiny in places. You watch as it takes a few steps out in your direction, its head hanging at one side, its eyes seem to be a bit milky. And you can see from the corners of its face and its snout and its ear, there is a dark sort of liquid that drips and cakes with its fur. You can see there are bony plates that protrude
So
from parts of its
it would be
body.
interesting to
It looks
know
be an unnaturally
if this would have gone
malformed
differently
creature.
if she had rolled the success on a
And
hope
you hear
dice.
another growl across the
Like,
way.
would combat even start?
Do they look
Full stop.
aggro?
It
They look
looks.
fucked up. Yeah, they look bad.
It's
So this leads to combat.
Bunny is kind of up here doing this performance.
Main stage.
While you all are clambered over in this area, kind of.
Because we.
And then just watch combat for a second.
I'm I'm gonna move actually a little closer to Sweet Pea because I'm gonna stay under her cap.
Okay. We're here.
Yeah.
All right, you got it.
And this bear is full on.
It is now
charging me.
charging.
I am going to attempt to hit the bear with my.
So see, Taliesin is instantly, like, I don't know if they've kind of been told to like be quick on this rather than like being used to waiting their turn. But Taliesin instantly like, I'm gonna hit the bear. Of course I am. I'm gonna, like, let me do it.
It's a far attack. So I'm trying to remember.
Oh my gosh.
For attack. Yeah, it's within the paper there.
See they're measuring with paper, which is quite funny because they have the squares there. But I think they're showing that you can do it without kind of battle mats in a traditional sense. And they've tried to simplify distance by having it as, you know, far, medium, close range, melee.
It's
range.
So it's I'm rolling. What do I add for this? It's been a while. So I roll
one of these.
straight.
And he's figuring out what he rolls.
Let's make this great. Why don't we? Here, I have no choice.
Oh, yeah, that does succeed.
He rolled with fear.
So on a successful
You're up at the
attack,
bear.
I pull my target into close range with me.
Okay.
So it's the chain reels back with the claw after it sinks into its flesh
shit.
as it comes barreling towards me.
All right, are you pulling it all the way up to you?
I'm
or?
pulling it about 2/3 of the way before. Yeah, about there.
All right, so you watch as you now describe what your grappler looks like.
It's
You bet they were told to try and make moves quickly. They had 3 maps made with 3 sets of encounters to try and demonstrate types of GM play. Yeah, I've no doubt, and it's not a bad thing. Like, I think you could tell your players in a new game, like, take initiative in battle. There is no initiative, so take it yourself. And if you want to get the first hit in, go for it. You can. I just think it's just going to be a problem if the same person is just fastest and loudest and always gets that first hit. You know, may lead to conversations that people may not want to have.
14 points of damage. All right, that's a major wound to that hedge bear as it gets dragged off to the side. Coming to me then, since you rolled with fear, now comes the GM's run.
So, because Taliesin rolled with fear on the very first round, Matt, the GM, just gets to go. Like, has an option to go. He can choose not to, but he's taking the chance.
Which you move your action there. I'm gonna go ahead and spend 1 fear to put 2 more tokens on the element here to spend.
So he's moving his fear tokens around so he can attack with multiple creatures and do different things with them.
That'll get you right up to where Bunny is on that side there to pincer. That one is gonna go ahead and rush forward.
I'm curious just to see
Towards you.
like who goes next and how quick they are
That's only
from Matt finishing his round to
10.
Nice.
them just going.
How do you avoid this attack as it runs towards you?
So once again, I'm fully confident in what happens, and as it comes to me, I do like a pirouette out of the way, and as I do, I draw my bladed fan and I drop down to one knee and slice it across the front of its.
Oh, so she's just so Marisha has just taken it like it's attacked Marisha, so Marisha's like I attack back, so
And I
she's
will
gone
then tap
straight
my-
into it.
my fan,
Okay, once I finish.
if I can do that. Once you finish your turn.
Yeah, indeed. Now it's going to go ahead and spend this other one here to have a second one kind of rushing him out of the wood behind it.
No, there's another one.
That
That's a little baby.
It doesn't quite get up to the edge to do much, but it rushes out, kind of following the others. Looks like this was like a hunting, wandering pack. And the one that you went after, I'm going to spend that token to activate it. It's going to go ahead and charge up to you now,
And
vengefully closing the gap after you.
There's a lot of the GM having to justify what they're doing. I feel like they're like, I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to spend 1 fear token, and I'm going to attack with that. And also, I'm going to spend another fear token. Very obviously, being like fear token, to make sure it's like all above board kind of thing.
Tugged it beyond where it was. It's going to go ahead. Let's see.
Your first name's Sir, right?
All right. So I'm going to go ahead.
Yes, sir. Circumference.
On that, that's going to be a 14 to hit. What's your evasion?
My evasion is 13.
13. That is going to hit you.
Yes.
Alrighty, so taking those dice there, get rid of the 10s here. Great. Alright, I'm gonna spend a fear.
So
Corrupted strength, add a d12.
Matt went,
Oh
Marisha went, and now Matt's going
20
again.
points of damage. Well, I'm going to have to spend some armor then. I'm going to knock a point of armor off, which brings that down to 13 points of damage, I think, which is much better. I will take that, and that's a...
It's cool to see the player using armor to
2 HP.
Reaches out,
deflect
one heavy swipe at you,
the
massive
hit
claw comes through
a
the
little
air,
bit.
like long strings of a weird oily surface substance kind of like glimmers and what bit of light is there as its heavy claws strike into your armor. You also
Also,
get knocked back at a very close
I
range.
don't get my retaliation attack, I take it.
Unfortunately, it literally knocks you out of melee range before you get a chance. The force of its strength pushing you just beyond.
You cur.
I finish the GM's turn now. You said you were about going next?
Yes, I'm gonna do this fan strike.
Yeah. Oh, so sorry, Marisha hadn't been yet. Matt had just decided to keep going. See, it's
That definitely hits. Get a fear.
it's hard to keep track of what's going on in actual play.
2d8 plus 2 because I am proficient in my fans. Oh, what is up? 15. 8, 19, 15.
Yeah, Ryan, I would be the type of GM to stockpile fear as well,
Yes.
for sure.
That's going to be a 2.
For a
Wound
biggie.
to it, it takes 2 hit points. You slice across your fan multiple times, and you can see like its jaw, like the lower lip is kind of quivering as the teeth itself kind of torn these big tusks.
Oh my, what big teeth you have.
There's one point where the GM just lets the next player go. Yeah, you would need to. If they rolled badly and just kept getting fear, you'd be like, look, guys, I'm going to kill you all if I keep getting goes.
Oh boy.
Oh, there's a third one?
Yeah, there's a third.
That's going to charge and activate on you, and it's going to go ahead and make.
There's also like another problem that I've not really thought through in my head, and that is just like what happens when the GM is just really low on resources. Like they just can't do anything. Like if they run out of fear and the players are rolling really well, they just the enemies just have to sit there and just take an absolute beating.
A bite and drag attack on you. I'm going to spend a fear, and close range, and it's going to attack you for an 11. What's
Yes,
your evasion?
evasion is 13.
13, great. So it goes to bite its massive jaws. Close. How do you dodge
Just a
it?
snake.
I just spin around really fast and all my skirts kind of flare up in its face.
You take its tangled nose for a second, and it's like a dog under the blanket, like amazing. You're kind of getting yanked around a little bit, but eventually you pull away. And it's all right.
Yeah, I guess the dice gods do some punishing. What comes around goes around, I guess.
Lots of animals. So does it
They're all similarly corrupted.
Alright, what else do I have on here? So that was the combat. Oh yeah, so
I rolled like.
this is the second combat they did.
It was like 22 or
20. Yeah, it was like 22 with hope.
With hope, okay.
and 17 with hope.
17 with hope, great. Yeah, you both kind of dart off to the side, while the rest of you kind of.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to GMing and just really keeping track of like. What did you get? Was that with hope or fear? Hope? Okay, cool. Then you get a hope. And you rolled it with fear. Okay, well give me. I'll take one fear then. Like and just constantly keeping track of the two things for a roll.
Spend 2 fear to take a GM action immediately, and then spend both of these fear.
Do you just say they're done? Like as a GM, when you're just like that's my round done. You've got to really indicate when it's like, well, I mean, I guess it's the same as D&D. Like you're like, okay, I'm done. Next person. All the games that gained steam with the controversy sounded great, but I don't think Matt Colville, Mercer, or Black Flag will replace just D&D. I don't think anything's going to ever replace D&D. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but the idea of D&D being less of a monopoly, I think is possible. And I think it already, like, Pathfinder is pretty freaking popular, you know? It like people talk about D&D like it is a monopoly. It's a monopoly on YouTube. It's a monopoly on Twitch with content creators. Sure, but there's a lot of people who play other systems out there. It's just we don't see it all the time. And I think with Matt Colville's stuff and with Critical Role stuff, we're gonna see a shift in the content creation space. It's not gonna take over. It's not gonna beat D&D. Though D&D is not very good on YouTube as well. That's the other side of things. Like if you look at the, hold on, we go ahead and look at like the D&D Dungeons and Dragons channel. And take a look at the videos. These are like 27k, 63k, 51k. Hey. Not bad numbers, okay? But other creators in the space are doing 10 times that with videos, which is crazy. Like I think if Critical Role really like take off with Daggerheart, then they would be officially posting content getting 270k views and 630k and 510k. I mean, they are now with their actual plays. And the official D&D channel does actual plays and things in the past, just not incredibly successfully. Not to take any, like, some of the videos they do are great. For whatever reason, it just doesn't take off like, I mean, it's very corporate, I guess. Maybe that's the issue. But yeah, I think it could, like something like Daggerheart or Matt Colville's stuff, or people with creators behind them, could really shift the way these things are viewed. Should be interesting.
To give me 4 tokens at the top. On my immediately intrusive ambush GM turn here, I'm going to spend all 4 of these tokens to activate 4 of these skitterfish. As they charge forward, you see their chitinous, like, front lobster, like.
And also, Dimension 20 has a really good relationship with Critical Role, so I have no doubt that they're gonna. And also, they take sponsorships and they will accept money, not in a bad way, just in a human way. So yeah, they'll play some Daggerheart for sure.
Very close to us.
We've got crabs.
Charge in.
I'm never playing Monopoly again in my lifetime. I've had some bad experiences with that game.
I don't like this.
Also, once again, if you've not liked the video yet, please do.
So with that, all 4 of them are going to attack you.
Jeez. Hello,
That
guys.
is
So see, the GM can just throw out
to hit you.
4 attacks on one person now.
Yeah.
3 physical damage.
3 physical damage? What does that mean?
So you take a stress hit.
Oh, just 3.
Yep.
Oh, that's easy.
From the first attack. The next one is a 4 to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take 3 physical damage.
Well, my evasion is 4.
So it
It's a good question, Ben. I think there will be another live play probably
is a
soon.
7 to hit you.
Probably.
And the next one is that's 3. So you take
Like just a random kind of one. If I search Daggerheart, capital letters, Daggerheart, actual play. Has anyone been fast enough? Like you have some people who are so quick. No, there's live breakdowns. I wonder if it says anywhere actually in the playtest stuff that you're not allowed to, but I can't see that. Huh. Wow. If I was an actual play person, I would have 100% been on this. I would have as soon as it was released yesterday, I would have been like, all right, friends, we're just doing this. First one, let's get it out. First to market, let's go. Should have done it. I mean, actual plays just don't get any views unless you're Critical Role or Dimension 20, but that's another issue entirely.
4 stress, essentially.
Oh, boy. Ooh. Ow. 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 Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh. Okay.
All right. So, in reaction to this, as they all swarm up and slam around Pango and immediately just start scrambling and swarming in front of
Ooh, you feel like combat order of DM, player, DM, player, DM isn't too bad, at least action economy wise. It's not that bad, to be honest, if the DM only does like 1 quick hit. But it probably slows combat down. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I can't get out of the mindset of thinking in rounds. Maybe D&D has broken me. Maybe I've got to retrain my brain to think differently. But I'm still thinking in rounds, and the GM getting to go multiple times in a round is going to slow combat down. Once again, the onus is on the GM to be very quick when deciding and doing things.
size. Who wants to go?
Oh.
I do.
All right, go for it.
I'm pissed. I grip my gigantic sword, and my great sword, and I, using my whirlwind feature ability.
Keep seeing the chat on the side and thinking for a hot second it's my chat. And I'm like, oh my god, guys, I'm popping off. I'm going to start answering like that chat by accident, rather embarrassingly.
Because I don't like when they bite people. That's not cool at all.
You got it.
I rolled a 20 with hope.
20 with hope.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, Squire, I really like the idea of just like as a GM, when one of your creatures gets attacked, they just slap back real quick. It's like a player's like, and I hit you with this, and the GM's like, okay, they're going to quickly just swing and do this much damage to you. Who else wants to go? You? Okay, you hit it, and then they're going to come in and hit you as well. Honestly, I kind of like that idea, and I might homebrew that into this system. I don't like the idea of keeping track of fear that much. I'll do it, and I feel like I keep having to put a caveat on this of like, I've not done it yet, I've not played it yet, maybe I'll like it. But yeah, the idea of trying to like resource manage during combat when there's so much going on top of just being a GM, while also now keeping order in order in the court, because you do need to do that now. You do need to be like, okay, who's not been for a while? Who's being quiet? Are they being quiet because they don't want to go? Or are they being quiet because they're shy and they do actually want to go, they just can't get a word in edgewise? So, okay, so that's the second combat. Let's look at some tag team stuff in action.
While they finish their go there, you guys can go.
Inspired by their tag team action, I'm gonna do it also. And I turn over to my friend Sir over here, and noticing that his shell sort of forms a frisbee shape, I'm gonna pick him up.
I'm gonna put I'm tucking my feet in, and I look to you. Let's make a molehill out of this mountain.
And I'll spin around. And I'm gonna throw it like a discus.
Hell
yeah.
I am coming down like a spinning fucking buzzsaw.
All right, so you can both roll for your attacks on this, and they can add your weapon damage, and we'll just consider your weapon damage as part of it.
I'm staying on shore.
So this is the fun side of this. I feel like the days of I use my sword, 6 damage, next person's go. Those days are over, because I hate playing like that, and this game really encourages like, no, don't tell me what you do, tell me how you do it. And people do that in D&D. It's not, that's a system agnostic thing, but it feels more encouraged within this world and realm. I think the biggest problem that I think it's so weird, because everything that happened with Wizards of the Coast and everything that's probably going to happen in the future, where they break the trust of the consumers, means that you kind of have to be like, man, D&D, I want another system. But for me, the other side of it is, I love D&D. I really like playing D&D. Like, D&D has some flaws, but they're not that big. And I just wish I had a system that corrected those flaws, but then it wouldn't be different enough to run its own existence. Or I could just homebrew changes like that myself. So, I don't know, it's hard to look at the changes they're making and being like, this is better than D&D, because I do actually think D&D does a lot. Like 5e does a lot right. And also I've got so used to it, and it works for me. And I've homebrewed it, and I've changed it to match stuff the way I want to do it. So watching these changes and these differences, it's hard to jump fully on board with them and be like, this is 100% better than anything I've ever seen. Because I don't know if it's necessarily true. It just, the best I can hope for is not that it's better than anything, just that it's different, it's unique, and it works. And I think if they get that right, they can. And I'm not sold currently if combat works
Right.
fully. I'm not sold.
Because the fun of the tag team, it's your momentum of your like attack into his one, so I'm allowing it because it's fun.
Okay.
And that's a crit.
Hey, yeah, this was a
You both
big.
get a hope and you
This
both
is a
get
nice
stretch.
finish.
That's an automatic success.
This, spoilers, guys. this kills the monster, and there's going to be a lot of people who are on the team of Critical Role is scripted that are going to be coming out the woodwork because the final kill of the game was a crit, and they get to explain what a crit does. When they're showcasing this new system, I believe it was pure luck. It was very fortuitous, and it was a good way to finish this.
So go ahead and add your damage up on this.
Okay,
Let's go,
get
let's
a hope,
go.
clear stress.
And if I recall, if it's a crit on attack, you get add an additional full damage die.
Oh my god.
A max damage die.
Oh
too.
Am
yeah,
I-
you add it in a
And
different.
I'm still adding
This is
mine.
nasty.
And they both do, right?
They both do it, yeah.
I'm adding my
gosh.
damage. Oh my god, this is
This is
gonna
the,
be
this is the optimal fucking
roll-
scenario for a
I
tag
don't
team
roll a
damage.
third die. I just add the max.
The Mario Kart shell joke. So true. That's evidence it's not scripted.
So much.
There's so many dice right here. Oh, that's a 1.
Did one of yours hit the edge?
No, it was just
No.
locked
It
up
oh,
there.
it was just that.
This is against Boko, or is this against the absence?
The abscess.
You got it.
Oh, I thought this killed. Maybe I'm wrong.
Tally ho!
21 points from me
16, 20.
because I'm using my
The downside of this is they rolled together. They didn't roll together. They moved together. The crit counted for both of them. They both did an insane amount of damage, but over the cap of the maximum damage that can be done, the severe damage, it's all wasted. Like, I think if Taliesin got over like 15 damage, then anything Sam's gonna do. Oh no. No, sorry, I guess he would treat the two moves separately. So it would be 2 severe hits, which would be like 6 hit points. All right, forget I said anything.
unstoppable feat
Unstoppable.
feature. To
I believe
add
mine
Say that.
is 18.
Oh, you did check.
So a total of
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 18.
18, and what was yours?
21.
3 hit
Oh yeah,
points.
that's 39.
3 hit points. Oh no, he added them
How do you
together.
want to do
He
that?
added them together to 39.
The two of you together, please describe the scene as you build momentum, swinging your turtle friend Tridante around.
Dagger in the other, just so like I've got the 2 blades. I've pulled my legs, arms, and head in as far as it can go. Just blue fabric and blade.
And as I release a single tear from the loss of Wango, just sort of propels him even higher into the sky, and almost like, you know how you throw a frisbee too high and it goes too far, but then it comes back.
Oh, yeah. Frisbee golfed it.
Yeah.
As you land, flying like Levi Ackerman, just slicing into this fucking abscess, just into it. You are both completely just coated in.
Yeah, it's fun. If you go over max plus or something to do 4 HP, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I missed that in my read through, in my skim through, and I'm watching stuff. That's cool to know. So if they do the full HP of, I guess the wait, how does that work? I'll have to look that up because the creature doesn't have like max HP, right? They don't have a max number of damage because they only have hit points. Yeah. The more I understand of the game, the more I'm getting my grips of it, the more I'm like, I don't understand this game at all. But yeah,
Some odd alien.
but it makes sense there'll be something like that in there for sure. If you double severe, it does something. If you double, okay, maybe that's it. Yeah, Ryan, you might be right. So if you double whatever the severe number is, so I'm looking at a character sheet here where severe is 13. So I guess if you do over 26, you maybe do 4 HP instead of 3. That's good to know. Any game over time will stop resembling the game as written. I think all our games are unique. Doesn't mean we can release them as games. It's such a huge thing, to be honest. Think of all the things they will likely be releasing. Books, app, website, probably an ad. Yeah. Oh, I'm down for it. I think there's like aspects of this where they're going to make a lot of money because there's way more accessories than just D&D. Like D&D accessories are what? Minis, terrain, and dice. Like, that's what I'm spending my money on. And books, of course. And now they're trying to find ways to go digital. But in here, it's going to be like, oh, those are some really cool fear tokens that I want to buy. Oh, those are some really cool character combat tokens. Those are some really cool hope tokens. So there's going to be a lot of things that if you want to, you can spend money on, but you don't have to. But I mean, I like collecting things, you know. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting a starter set and then getting some really nice fear tokens. Your two pass using popcorn kernels. There's that as well. You know, do whatever you feel comfortable doing with. I'll buy them for sure. I'm that guy. Oh yeah. It's bad. It's unhealthy for me. You're a dice goblin. Yeah. And so already you need like a special kind of dice for this, where I think the typical Daggerheart dice, you're gonna have, what is it, like a red and a blue, or red and green dice for hope and fear, or white and black, that kind of thing. Started with M&Ms and gummy bears.
In Viscera, and they're in the middle of...
I'm thinking about doing a video very soon, actually, which is like low-budget D&D hacks. So if anyone's got any ideas, I will gladly steal it and not give you any credit for it. But right now I've got like I almost grabbed this to show off, like the upside down glass. I will not turn upside down, it's full of water. The upside down glass trick, so that you can put a mini on top and it's flying, and you can put one underneath. There's the one which is, like I heard Brennan Lee Mulligan talking about, which is using Othello pieces, because Othello pieces are like black on one side, white on the other, and you can dry erase, like use marker to put the HP of whatever the enemy that Othello counter is representing. You can just write the HP on the back of it and then turn it upside down so the players can't see the HP. And when you count upwards, and every time it takes damage, you just rub it out and write the new number on there, which is really cool. So I'm trying to think of a ton. I had like one or two other really good, like just low budget D&D hacks, which escape me now. I'll have to open up the script to look. But I want a bunch more before I make that video. Main boss is also a donut, and the player that kills it gets to eat it. That's a fun one. That's an alternative. I like that a lot. Like using sweets in general as tokens. Can't wait to switch from how to make terrain for D&D to how to make terrain for newly released Critical Role RPG system Daggerheart. Oh, if you really want to hit that SEO, Squire, it's can't wait. Sorry, how to make terrain for Critical Role, TTRPG system, Daggerheart, the D&D killer, the TTRPG scandal just got worse. That would be the best way to farm views on that. But yeah, rubber bands, colored strip, yeah. Dwarven Forge lesson sweets, not price. You hate it so much. You hate the YouTube meta right now. This D&D scandal just got worse. Spoiler alert, it didn't, and it's not a scandal. Jenga blocks are crazy useful. Walls, columns, even tables and benches. That's huge, actually. Yeah, like as terrain, as like obstacles, Jenga blocks. Because if they sit on their side, which I presume they do, they're trees, they're columns, they're pillars. And you can build full structures that the people can go inside. That's good. I'm going to steal Jenga blocks. Doesn't it seem like a lot of accounting bookkeeping within this system? Hey, Maya. So, yes, in total honesty, that's my first impression. There's a lot to keep track of. But my caveat to that is there's a lot in like every TTRPG, including D&D. Like D&D is simple in my mind, but only because I'm so used to it and I've kind of become like Stockholm syndromed into it. And I still use D&D Beyond a lot, right, to do most of the heavy lifting. So I didn't play with Demi playing that much, but if you have a good app that handles most of these calculations for you, like if you roll within the app and as a player you get the hope dice, it just adds a hope for you, and vice versa. You just like when players roll and get fear, as a DM your fear counter goes up 1. That becomes way easier. You made so much stuff from cardboard, your DM screen, but mainly dungeon tiles. Oh, I like homemade DM screens and stuff, to be honest. I'm very into that. I've been thinking about doing another video. If I had any kind of presence, maybe if I live stream more, I can start getting that. But if I had like a presence online where I could ask people to like send me their home setups, that I can make a video. And like it'd be a mix of like really cool ones that people have put a lot of money in, really cool ones that people have built themselves, and then I would love to see the people who are just like, yeah, I play with popcorn kernels, like was it Ben said before? Literally just like the most like basic setups, not in a bad way, just in a way that like, hey, I'm here for the fun with my friends. Who cares about anything else? El Toto Fly, it's going well. We've just been watching a bunch of the actual play to see how this new system kind of plays. I made a pros and cons list about what I like and what I don't like, and I think got one more clip from this that we should watch.
I love the chaos. I love the cinematic ability to like jump around and like jump in the moment and things. I know it's scary at first because it's like, as a person that grew up playing with initiative and everything, there's a comfort to that, and you could definitely incorporate a type of initiative into this where you just kind of go in a certain order or around the table if you want to. But like, I love the idea that being able to jump in, like follow the impulse of the narrative, or if something goes wrong when you're planning for something and it gives power back, we can still continue back to that loop to get to that.
So that's cool. That's an interesting way of thinking about it, which I don't think many people have, which is not the idea that, oh, the GM just goes whenever they want and has to keep track of that. And it's more like the GM has the power to jump in at any point to keep things as narratively interesting as possible, which does mean a lot more pressure on the GM to make sure things are going the best they possibly can and that great stories are being told. But it does give them more of an ability to do that, at least within combat, right?
You know, release of what you're planning before it plays on. I don't know. It's open beta. We're still figuring stuff out. But
I also love how the tag teaming makes it feel like a team.
Yeah,
you know what I
it
mean?
does.
Like it really creates that teamwork as you're going.
Yeah.
So they did say there that should be said it is open beta. They are still figuring stuff out. Absolutely fair. I've not heard. I've seen people, and this is kind of a Critical Role thing in general. I'm sure there are people out there who are shitting on it, who are giving them a bad time. I've definitely come across a lot of Critical Role haters in my videos. People who just like severely dislike them for whatever reason, especially Matt. But there's the kickback from the Critical Role fans who potentially go too far. So I've not seen many criticisms about this system, but I've seen a lot of like tweets and things of people being like, people who are criticizing this don't understand the game or game mechanics. And it's like, what are you talking? It's an open beta. It's there to be criticized. Like, let the extreme people criticize, and then let everyone in between criticize, and then we can see where stuff kind of lands over time. If someone says that they don't like the combat, it doesn't mean that they don't understand the combat, right? It means that they don't like the combat as it is, and it's fine. And if they don't like the combat because they don't understand the combat, then there's an argument that the combat is too complex, or it's a hard one. I don't want to get into like the Critical Role haters and lovers warfare that seems to be going on.
And it's still consequential because even if somebody.
The end of the day for me, I really want this game to be a success. And I really want to play it. But I just want to make sure, to the best of my ability, and everyone else should fill out the questionnaires and stuff, that, like, A, no one's blinded by the hatred or by the love, that we can be, like, objective about it, and B, that when it comes out, when it makes it to the table, it's just the best version of the game it can be. And that doesn't mean, like, oh, I don't like the combat, so scrap the combat completely and go back to initiative. No, this game doesn't want initiative. It wants to do its own thing. So we just got to figure out the best way of this combat system to work. Maybe they'll change it if there is like non-stop hate. The situation is, I love the idea of not having initiative. I don't think it works when it's this free-flowing. And I would like at least the ability to run with a bit more order. And I think Matt even says this in a second, so...
Somebody makes a roll with fear, it can totally fuck up what you might have been wanting to
Yeah,
do.
if you both roll if you both roll poorly, then you wasted 3 hope and your use of that, and you both take the higher roll.
It does seem like a very
which would be
punishing
no.
game as well.
And if you both roll with fear, then it's 2 fear that I get, and then it comes back to me.
I also think...
Like, sorry to keep pausing it, but my biggest fear, and my biggest hope for the end, but my biggest fear is that a lot of players choose just not to roll anymore. They don't want to do anything because there's a chance, there's like a 50-50 chance the GM is going to get ammunition in the form of fear for them to screw over the player in the future. Like, why? And I think fear is way more powerful than hope so far, from what I've seen. Like, it's not worth taking a risk for one piece of hope when it could go wrong and the GM gets one fear. So I really think there's got to be a conversation with players playing this where it's like, hey guys, it's okay to lose. It's really okay to lose. It's really okay for the GM to just mess everything up. The game's built for that to happen. So please don't shy away from rolling.
If you're fighting a giant rock monster, you'd be like, okay. Okay, now!
Yeah.
Before it opened up, my initial thought was to run by you and try and cut the vine before you, but then a bunch of other shit happened. And I was like, yeah, you'll be fine.
That's how it works out, yeah.
No.
It does help to not. It makes you think on your feet, though. Whereas, like with initiative, you're like up.
Makes you think on your feet during combat. Like, you've got to be on it a lot more. Negative and positive, in my eyes. I'll see when I play it.
What to do?
Yeah.
And then it can change. And then it can change, and then you're fucked.
Which isn't bad either. It's just it's a different way of playing.
Yeah, for sure.
As a more timid player, sometimes I was nervous about not having an initiative, but I love it.
You were not timid at all.
Yeah.
You were killing it.
Oh,
Yeah. More timid players might suffer. And I think there's a lot more timid players out there than Ashley Johnson. So I think for sure, making sure everyone... I'm just repeating myself at this point, so I'll stop.
Are the dogs okay?
they're fine.
All right.
Yeah, Twixt and Twix are fine.
Yes, up in the tree.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, maybe the audience can tell us if they want to see the return of the menagerie of the Grim Wardens of Lockspire. Let us know
Layered.
what you think.
It's layered.
You know, maybe we'll-
Indeed.
Of Daggerheart.
I'm sure Matt says something about...
That's all the time we have for this one shot tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us for this. I hope you enjoyed it along with us. Yeah. Come good. It's been a bit. I know. But yeah, hope you all had fun. And I'm excited for all of you to have fun playing this. So to learn more and join this open beta playtest, go check out Daggerheart.com.
Oh, did I miss it?
So gather your party, make some characters, just create all sorts of chaos, play a ribbon and other weird shit, or bring in all the classics, bring in your elves, bring in your humans, bring in your dwarves, they're all there. and all the cool kids are doing it. So,
level
no,
up?
but just be sure to tell us your thoughts about the system, the things that you like, the things that you think could use some work, some things that could possibly see some shifting or some tweaks. Like it's a wonderful thing about our official Daggerheart Open Beta and using those surveys is it helps us make this game better for all of us. But we are determined to make this game as good as possible, and those surveys are an invaluable part of that process. So please do so. I know.
All hail the god of the seep. Chat.
Live chat was.
That's what I call
That's nice though.
On that note, good night, everybody. We love you very much. And is it Tuesday? Yeah, I don't know. Thursday. Bye.
I'm so confused. I must have missed it. Maybe I was talking over it. There was a point where Matt full on goes like,
and if you both roll with fear,
he talks about like if you don't like. I'm sure of it. I watched it last night. Unless I'm going crazy. He's saying like if you don't like the freeform combat, you can just put a bit more structure in. Maybe go around the table, and I'm on board with that. Like fully. Oh, it was in session 0. Thanks, Ben. Right. So I think that's one of the most important, genuine, most important things that has been said. Like, people are getting up in arms by it, but I fully about the combat, including me. But I fully think it's going to be like an optional thing where you can just kind of do it in a more free flowing initiative. He said it there too. I think I just missed it. I was probably talking over it, but yeah. You'd be 100% surprised if they didn't add variant rules to smooth over some of the concerns people have with the flow. 100%. I think right now it's just figuring out what the official main rule is and what the variant rules are. Right, so I did want to look at inventory stuff because the only thing that I don't understand, I think, at this point, I'm confident I could fumble my way through a game of Daggerheart as a GM at this point, except for any questions about your inventory. But I think it's just all in the character sheet, right? I just need to trust the players to be like, yeah, I've got. Oh, that was my question. It's like active weapons versus inventory weapon, like and inventory armor. Is that like an item that you can swap with really easily? Where's my playtest manuscript? Oh, I'm in it. Lol. So inventory weapon. As you acquire new gear throughout your journey, you can carry one additional weapon, either primary or secondary, and one additional armor in the inventory weapon and inventory armor slots. There's only so much room in your pack after all. The inventory weapon and armor slots hold equipment you don't have equipped, so you can't wield these items or gain their benefits. If you want to switch to a different weapon or armor that you currently have active while in danger or under pressure, mark 1 stress point. Okay, cool. Cool. If you aren't in danger or under pressure, you can switch weapons and armor freely. If you switch your armor slots do not refresh. Oh, I thought that would be a way. I thought it was going to be... God damn it, where'd it go? Yeah, where are the character sheets? I've got to learn what page stuff's on. So I thought there would be a level of... I guess it would be overpowered, right? I guess if you could swap out like armor in a fight and just get 3 more armor slots. Narratively, that's weird though, right? Like if someone breaks your armor and then you swap and then the new armor's broken, but yeah, it is what it is. It's a game. You love downtime, you hate D&D travel. Yeah, fair. Is there a chance they'll have any copyright issues with D&D? I think they know what they're doing. So, I would be very surprised. Or if there is anything that pops up, I don't think... It would be easily fixable, I'm sure. But, yeah, I think they're going to be safe. I'm more interested in what's going to happen with Exandria. Whether that stays a D&D world setting, or if they move Exandria over, because they've got to play. They have to like use Daggerheart as their new campaign after this one, right? Unless it's a massive failure, it's such a weird look to be the developers of a fantasy game, and then as your massive marketing push, play D&D. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Exandria. Obviously, they've been pushing away from the D&D stuff already, and and they have for a while. Like in The Legend of Vox Machina, the animated show, they did a few changes in there, such as like they don't use the term Goliath. I believe they use the term half giant. And there's a few other things where they Bigby's hand, like stuff like that. They don't use those terms. So there could be a reason for that. They could be technically Exandria is a setting for Daggerheart now. I think what they'll probably do is move. I think what they'll probably do, the smart thing to do, off the top of my head now, so this could come out completely wrong, but if I was them, I would work on making Exandria, the Critical Role setting, system agnostic, and just be like, you can use it in any game you want. Use it in D&D, sure. There's books for D&D in this setting. You can use it for Pathfinder if you want. You can use it for anything, including our own system, Daggerheart, if you wanted to. Yeah, Scanlan's Hand, a ton of stuff like that. Legend of Vox Machina is a great show. Like, genuinely one of the best animated shows of all time. And it's insane to me that it's not more popular. I blame Amazon, personally. There must be a new season coming out soon as well. Okay, so the inventory system, the weapons and everything. That's a pro. Inventory stuff. Pro. That to me is a pretty progressive list. There's not a ton of cons compared to the pros in this, which is a pretty good sign. And that's more than I thought, because I was concentrating so much on the things I didn't like, because they're just... It's more fun to complain than it is to compliment. Or for me, at least. Maybe I'm just a bad person. But I love the idea of evasion and armor, specifically armor. I like the idea that anyone can just negate a little bit of damage if they choose to. The HP and stress stuff I like. Accept the caveat of stress being a weird thing where you can die in a conversation. Fundamentally. Like, if a conversation goes really bad and you've used all your stress points up and you only have 1 HP left and you take a point of stress, you're dead. But maybe stress isn't meant to be used in conversation like that. Maybe that's just me being a jerk DM. Yes, death mechanics. Yeah. People give me anything they want. to add to this. So death is a tick. Multiclassing is something I've got a blind spot with multiclassing. That's a really good point. Multiclassing is not something I've looked into. But this was more... It was more supposed to be from a GM point of view, and I would count multiclassing as purely on the player. Oh yeah. And use that next season of Vox Machina. I think it's supposed to come out in a few months, but the writer's strike and the actor strike probably both hit it pretty hard. You think Dynasty Press is just in the business of making games at this point? After all, they're still on good terms with D&D, and it's a great way to reach the broadest audience possible. Yeah, we'll see. I just think it's a crazy thing to... Like, making Candela Obscura is one thing. But making let's face it, a direct competitor to D&D. There's no two ways about it. It's like... You're going to play one or the other. You're not going to play both. You might play both. I said that to someone yesterday. Was it you, Ben, who was just like, I play Pathfinder and D&D? And it's like, okay, fair enough. Most people aren't going to play both games. So it would be odd if, like, Paizo did a live actual play where they played D&D. But yeah. Who knows if that'll change? Even if Daggerheart was whirlwind success, you'd still alienate a lot of viewership. So who knows what? We'll see. We'll see. You've got to remember that. Also, I don't think Critical Role care. They care. That's don't. I don't think they. I don't think the live streams are as important to them nowadays. Like, let's face it, they've been a wild success at doing what they're doing. So if now making their games a success is the most important thing, then live streaming those games is the biggest thing. And they still live stream a lot of Candela Obscura. So they're definitely going to do a lot of actual plays of Daggerheart, you'd think. And it's just I don't know. We'll see. I've got no horse in this race. Like, either way, I'll be happy. I don't think the system is what makes Critical Role. I feel like a D20 is so different from rolling 2D12, and a D20 has an entire culture built around it. Yeah. Viewership of Candela Obscura is so much lower than a D&D, though. Well, yeah, but... We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's impossible to say. It's fun to talk about, but it's impossible to predict. But I must admit, I'm here saying that, like, I personally think they're gonna switch to just purely from marketing perspective, and like, why develop a high fantasy game and then play a different high fantasy game? It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe if they're just making a game to sell it and they're going to move on, and Daggerheart's lifespan is going to be really short, sure. I must admit, this is a big thing for me. I do agree with the fact that rolling a d20 hits different from rolling 2d12, and also initiative hits differently than no initiative when it's an actual play that an audience is watching. I do think D&D, from what I've seen, is more fun to watch. With the caveat that I keep saying, it's a game that I understand a lot more, and there's probably a big part of it that I have a lot more experience in it, and I understand what's going on, but yeah. It'd be a big gamble to do a big new campaign of Daggerheart. Well... presuming they what, like, yeah, I guess. Sure, Squire. I concede. You're right. You're right. You've convinced me. Yeah. Right now you've moved me to 50-50. I think there's a 50-50 chance that they'll stop with D&D. It's also if like D&D are like that. Are they going to be on? I believe they'll be on good terms with D&D, but I don't think they'll be on good terms with D&D anymore. Like with Wizards of the Coast, they probably haven't been for a while, so there might be a level of wanting to separate themselves from it. But I think homebrew will be easy. Like homebrew classes seem simple, just changing the 2 domains. But homebrew items and stuff may take some time. I think it'll be as easy as D&D. I think that stuff is all just like... I think homebrewing monsters... That's something... Yes, let's look at that actually. Let me look at one of the monster character sheets. Which isn't in here. It is in the... Quick Start Adventure, I believe. They have some easy ones to find. So character sheets. Teaching the game. Alright, so there is one enemy, and I think there's better ones down here. So yeah, so here's some... Myself over there for you guys. The interesting thing about this quick play is that they the creatures aren't built around just like, oh, this is what they can do, but it's built around what they're going to do in this specific situation. So these guys are like ambushers. They're going to specifically ambush, and this is how they ambush. They enter the scene without being spotted first, or they'll try. They may immediately move into melee with a target and make an attack against them. On a success, they strike with the dagger for blah, blah, blah. You know what? If this is what all stat blocks for creatures are going to look like, this is actually way more simple. I did notice, I'm pretty sure, that in the actual play, I think it was Sam, who hit an enemy with an ability that would cause stress. And he was trying to... heal stress. He was trying to heal the enemy of some stress to, like, I guess, try and develop some kind of social connection with the enemy. And I thought to myself, oh, so does every bad guy have stress? And I don't think so. So I presume some do, because why have stress? None. But for the most part, like, does this one have stress? Yeah. If we can live in a world where we just don't use stress on enemies, that would be nice. But these bad guy character sheets, I've gone stat blocks. That's what I meant, stat blocks. Seem really simple and actually would be pretty easy to homebrew. So I like it. Roll initiative is a phrase I enjoy saying a lot. Didn't even think about that, Squire. I didn't even think about that, but that is a key thing of like, it's just what we're used to. I'm sure phases, like we can come up with our own new phase for when you go into, because you still go into combat in Daggerheart. It's just not roll for initiative. Now it's just like, who hits first. So you can come up with a kind of a new phase of like, who wants to get in here, So shifting things around. Same too. They have a lot of work to get this up to 5e for live stream. Yeah, and it's just in general, the comparisons are a little unfair because this is D&D's 5th iteration, of which there were multiple iterations within those iterations. It's probably more like its 9th or something, right? So there's been a lot of playtesting of D&D and a lot of shifting and moving and 50 years of people in home games homebrewing things to make the game better and then taking it and making 5e. So there's a level of what Daggerheart is now in open beta, what it's going to be upon release, and what it's going to be in 1 year, then 5 years could be very, very different. It sucks that we have to go through the growing pains, but kind of exciting as well. You had no idea what the monsters were doing based on the descriptions given in the actual play. Given how narrative driven everything is, it almost feels like none of their abilities matter. Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but that is right. Matt is a very descriptive GM when it comes to describing what monsters are doing. He does well of how they're acting and what they look like, but as far as just attacking goes, it did feel a bit. But also there may have been a level of, hey Matt, we need the combat to be very quick and snappy, so as quick as you like. So maybe he skipped some of that stuff because there's no reason why he couldn't and wouldn't, I guess. You're working on a one shot with a 2d20 system with the hope and fear dice. Ooh. The fear is only minor though, with no tokens, yeah. I think when I GM this, I'm going to be a very pathetic GM when it comes to giving out fear. I'm going to be very nice and kind. When I say giving out fear, I mean giving out the negative consequences, because that's the whole other thing. It's like, you roll with fear, the DM gets a fear thing, and something kind of bad happens. I don't think I'm ever going to really do that much. I'm just going to be like, you roll with fear, I get a fear. That's the bad thing that happens. And then I think I'm going to be quite... I am going to be, like we were saying earlier, I'm going to be a stockpiler of fear. I'm going to just keep collecting it. Let my players think they're having a great time. I'll be doing the bare minimum. And then I'm just going to kill one of them in a battle. That's going to be my plan. MCDM had to come up with draw steal. So, yeah. I guess it was D&D that came up with roll for initiative, right? That wasn't like a community thing. Probably was, right? Then a really bad moment happens. Yeah. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. I'm at the very least very excited to play around with the system, and I'm definitely gonna play around with it now. And I'm most probably gonna give it a proper whirl when it's fully released. I don't think we have any idea when that is yet, though, which is a shame. Open beta, it can mean a lot of things. I'm hoping it's this year. This year would be nice. But yeah, we will see. It's also a level of I hope it just gets released when it's ready. But I hope that's sooner rather than later. Okay, that's kind of it. I've got my like life. This stream is run its course, and it's kind of just gonna end. So thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you've not liked the video, like it, because it will help the whole channel in the future in general. Even now at near the end of it. Just give it a quick like. Let me get rid of this guy. I think that's a good pro-con list. I think that it's given me a much better idea of what I actually like in this system, which is most of it, and what I think I'm going to homebrew and change the most, which is going to be, I mean, the language is just the language used in the book and stuff. I didn't really like that. I found it confusing. The resources, I think that might just be a devil that we have to live with, and that's fine. And there's a lot of resources, and tokens go with the resources. They're a similar, very similar vein. I'm just keeping track of a lot of stuff. GM agency is real. It is actually neutral. It's like the GM. There's a lot of stuff on the GM too. I've just realized I'm not even showing this thing. So GM agency is very neutral. So I'm just going to delete that, I think, because this is both of them. Actual plays, I don't think matter as much. Like, as far as giving feedback for this, that's not even an issue. Meaning my biggest con, and only real con, the thing that I actually do want, not changed, but that I will change myself in games, is the way that combat is ordered and how that works. So, good stuff. Cool. All right, get out of here, guys. I will catch you next time. I should have a new video coming out in hopefully a couple of days, next Monday at the latest, depending on how editing goes. Go finish your thesis, Squire. And good night, Ben. And take it easy, Will. No worries. Hopefully you like these streams. I don't know if it's doing anything for anyone. We'll see. I might do a few more. I might never stream again. We'll see what happens. But yeah. Bye.